Hi, this is Marcus Toe, illustrator and artist for Time Waits with Distillery and X-Force for Marvel. This is the True North Country Comics podcast.
Welcome to the True North Country Comics podcast, dedicated to promote Canadian comic book and graphic novel creators and supporters. I'm John Swinimer. On this episode, I chat with Marcus Toe as he prepares to showcase his comic book projects at Toronto Comicon 2025. Please like and subscribe to this website by hitting the subscribe button, so you'll be notified about new podcast interviews and article posts. This podcast is available wherever podcasts are enjoyed. Please like, follow, and subscribe. Originally from Alberta, but now based in Toronto, Ontario, Marcus Toe is an artist and illustrator who's been drawing since childhood. A one-year animation program in North Vancouver involving 13-hour days and nights spent drawing his own comics to build his portfolio helped him prepare for his future career. After a year studying computer science, he decided to take the plunge and work with a family friend at a photography studio in Los Angeles while trying to break into the comics convention. After receiving great feedback at a Wizard World convention, he revamped his portfolio for San Diego Comicon, meeting the Aspen Comics crew and going to work for them on such projects as Fathom and Soulfire. In 2009, he made the move to Toronto, and that same year he started working with DC. In 2010, he joined the Royal Academy of Illustration and Design, or R.A.I.D studio, in downtown Toronto. Marcus is known for his work on such titles as X-Force, Shang-Chi, Excalibur, Red Robin, Nightwing, and many more. His most recent work is Time Waits, written by Chip Zdarsky and David Brothers. Time Waits is a story of Blue, a man trapped in the past, which is our present. Sent back in time for a mission he could not bring himself to complete, the former soldier Blue builds a life with Grace, the sheriff of a small rural town. The pair build a foundation of happiness on a history of bloodshed, as far away from the trigger-happy corporate overlords that used Blue as a human gun. After 10 years together, Blue and Grace are on the cusp of taking the next step in their relationship, adoption. Before Grace can fully convince Blue to expand their family, the future comes calling. The overlords want their first deserter, and to complete the mission, Blue cannot. They have one simple rule: kill anyone who stands in their way. So, without further ado, here's my chat with Marcus Toe as he prepares to showcase his comic book projects at Toronto Comicon 2025. So, Marcus Toe, thank you very much for taking time to chat with me.
No, thank you for having me.
I appreciate your time. Before we get going with all the questions, I would like to know, what are you reading today?
I haven't been reading too much lately. I'm one of the guys that buys a bunch of comics and has a big pile to read right now. But one thing that I have been reading is the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles series, as well as the Star Trek series that IDW is putting out. So I've been really enjoying those.
Yeah, I know that's always a challenge, is everything looks good. It's like you want to read everything and there's not enough time. It's so sad, but I'm glad you could get to a few of them. That's good. That's good. Mm-hmm. So we met, and it's been some time since we chatted about this, but last year at New York Comicon. I wanted to ask you, how was that show for you?
Personally, New York is probably one of my favorite shows to do for many reasons. I mean, the fan base there in that area is just the best. I think they're so knowledgeable on the collector side, the fan side, the costume side, everything. It's so well versed. You know, it's always good to see a strong contingent of comic books as a main focus. I know New York Comic Con has a lot of other stuff, but I mean, it's a huge artist alley. I think a lot of the fans are quite art and creator driven, and I really appreciate that about New York.
Yeah, it was my first time there, but I tell you, it was nice to see the two elements separated. Like, yes. Upstairs was a circus in quotation marks. Not there's anything wrong with that, but toys galore and all the sort of stuff going on. And downstairs was primarily focused on the artists and the creators. So I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, and they bring in, you know, new artists, old artists. I mean, I don't want to say old, but, you know, like ones that have been around longer and, right. and different generations of comic book creators. And to see them all kind of grouped up in one place was awesome. It almost felt like two separate conventions, eh?
Yeah, no, that's very true. That's very true. I preferred being down with the creators instead of upstairs where it was like all that stuff going on. But you're quite right. Like in the same row that you can find Frank Miller and Mark Guggenheim, there's like other artists who are just coming onto the scene. So it was nice to see that eclectic mix. I agree, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And sharing the stage with both sides, I think, is always a great thing. I think we all should be celebrating past, but new as well. So
Agreed, for sure. Now, we also met up at something called Comic Comp Convention at R.A.I.D
yes.
Studio. We were there with a lot of your colleagues, and I think the whole premise was you get all these complimentary comic books, you don't know what to do with them, and this was a great way to sort of share them with fans and readers galore. So, wondering what you thought about that whole event.
Well, this all came about, we've been complaining. No, I wouldn't say complaining, but sometimes when, you've worked in the industry as long as some of us have, we've built up a collection of our own work. I mean, we typically get, maybe about 10 plus issues of each thing that we've done. That's usually a thing that companies do for us. After years of collecting them in our closets, at some point we were wondering, what do we do with all this stuff? And we know that there are a lot of readers out there that, still enjoy picking up our issues, single issues, and want signatures. And Chip Zdarsky was the one that spearheaded this idea, and he brought it to Ramon Perez and myself at R.A.I.D Studios about hosting it, and we thought it was a great idea. And to be fair, we didn't even know what to expect. We didn't know how many people would be interested, but we just thought it would be a good idea to kind of do some spring cleaning, as it were, of our collections. And we utilized our space in R.A.I.D Studios, and we hosted the event, and we had such a great response from a lot of people in the area, and some people even traveled from places like Michigan or Newfoundland to come and check out, the space. And it was all free for everybody, and we just charged per issue kind of thing sold. Yeah, I think a lot of people had a great time, and it's always nice to have little events like this where we can kind of really build up that community, because Toronto has a really strong comics community, and that was also nice to see the support from local creators as well to join us in, doing something fun. And, it always helps all of us to pass on some books that we've all worked on to readers that would enjoy it.
Absolutely, yeah. From what I gathered being there, it was a great response. I think everyone appreciated you being there along with your colleagues. So thanks for doing that. I think it worked out well.
No, you're welcome. Thank you
Yeah.
for joining, and same with all the fans that came to support us. And we're hoping to organize something like this again. We haven't figured out exactly the format. It might not just be comps this time, but we'll see what we can come up with. Chip and Ramon are mad scientists when they come up with, new ideas of how to, get our products into people's hands.
Maybe a dunk tank?
That would be
No,
pretty interesting.
no,
There'd
no,
be a
no. I'm
lot of
joking.
people lining up for the Dunk Ramon, I think.
No, 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 not at all. Okay, that's a big joke. Let's carry on. So
It's
we're
okay.
talking here because you're going to be at Toronto Comicon. So I wanted to know, what will you have at your table for attendees when they come by to visit?
Right now, we're pushing time waits. The hardcover should be out pretty soon, so we'll be having a bunch of issues of time waits available for people, which is a book that myself, Chip Zdarsky, and David Brothers worked on with under the Distillery, which is a new publisher. I'll be sharing a table with my other R.A.I.D cohorts, and we'll be kind of selling our individual projects, so all creator-owned stuff, and a lot of R.A.I.D stuff that we've been working on, including trying to promote our Kickstarters that we've been regularly doing every year.
Yeah, that's a great thing about the R.A.I.D Studio. It's a real, what would you say, lab, I guess you could say, of
Mhm.
talent that are percolating with all sorts of ideas, and some of them take a little bit longer than others to reach market, but there is always something entertaining, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think that's, you know, I love working on stuff like Marvel and DC, but, the real passion always comes from writing and creating your own stories and trying to find an avenue to present that to people often is, quite difficult for people. And I'm very lucky to have found this group of people that I can, make my attempt at doing it. And like you said, sometimes things take a little longer, but even for myself that have done, a lot of things for different publishers, I think my end goal is to write and draw my own stuff, and slowly working on that myself here at R.A.I.D.
That's good. I want to go back just a wee bit and ask you about conventions in general. What do you like most about conventions?
Well, conventions are really tricky because, you're trying to manage your deadlines and other responsibilities in life to travel to other places. But to be honest, and I mean this truly, the only reason why I enjoy doing it is because of the people I meet. It's always great to talk to fans and peers about things that you love. And I think if that wasn't the case, I wouldn't ever go. I think conventions are a great way to kind of share that passion and talk about all the things that you love to do, whether it be drawing and writing or coloring or creating, publishing, just stories and ideas. And I think that's an avenue where we can all share that. And conventions can be a great way to do that.
Absolutely. And for me personally, I'm looking forward to an escape from reality. So getting away from all this stuff we're seeing in the news, I think it's a great way, as you said, to see a smiling face and connect with people. So looking forward to that. Do you have any other conventions lined up for this year?
At the moment, a few. I'm going to be headed to Saskatoon in early May, I think it is, which is a nice small show, Canadian show that has always been quite supportive of myself and R.A.I.D. I'm sure Toronto Fan Expo, I'll be there. Other than that, I don't have anything planned, but that can change pretty quick.
Sure. No, there's a lot of stuff that you're working on that you can't talk about, but what's the next project you can talk about that's coming down the road?
Well, that's the thing. I don't quite have one yet. There's some possibilities, but nothing for sure. So this year's going to be an interesting one of trying to figure out what my next step is.
So when that happens, where do you recommend that people go online to find out more about your current and your future work?
Good way to find me is on Instagram. It's Marcus Anthony Toe is my tag, and on Twitter /X, Marcus Toe. My website marcustoe.com, and other socials like Blue Sky and Threads, and they're all Marcus Toe is usually my tag. So there's not a lot of Marcus Toes out there, so that's the benefit of having my name being such as it is.
Thanks to Marcus for the chat. You can discover more about Marcus Toe online at marcustoe.com and on Instagram at instagram.com/MarcusAnthonyToe and on Blue Sky. Thank you for tuning in to the True North Country Comics podcast. I invite you to visit the True North Country Comics website to listen to even more conversations with creators about their insight on making comic books and graphic novels. I also encourage you to subscribe via the website so you'll be notified about new podcast interviews and article posts. This podcast is available wherever podcasts are enjoyed. Please like, follow, and subscribe. You can follow along True North Country Comics on most social media sites, and you're encouraged to send any and all feedback to John at truenorthcountrycomics.com. Thanks for tuning in, and come back soon for another episode. Bye for now. True North Country Comics podcast is copyright True North Country Comics, copyright 2025.